So hello everyone, welcome to another update. It's the 10th of August 2020 already. And I know I repeat myself in these updates, but time passes by so quickly. I guess it's the period of life when you have kids and things are going on, that weeks suddenly feel like days and days suddenly feel like hours and hours, well, almost not exist. So tell that to someone who doesn't believe in the double beat theory. So I would need that desperately in real life. So this update, as usual, we're going to take a look into our Patreon site, how we were doing last month, and also I'm going to update you on the book project. Before we do that, just as you know, if you are watching these updates for a longer time, you hear a constant element coming back time after time, over and over again, which is me struggling with reaching that point in which I have the feeling that it's all under control. There are a lot of projects. There are projects that are related to research, which is, well, it sounds amazing, and it is. But the things we are doing, the things Lorenz is doing, and he is in a different, so Lorenz Guardian, the author of Tact und Pendelschlag, for those of you who are new, I'm working with him, writing a tempo book, which is 75-80% actually written. So I'll update on that in a second. Also, he has, of course, a full-time job as a priest, but besides that, there's nothing else for him than the book. Well, that's also not entirely true. I could give entire update on him, actually. He is an amazing person. But for both of us, you could say the research that we are doing, and in this regard more him than me, should be a main occupation, but it cannot be. I mean, I have a family, I'm a musician, I have things to do, more and more related to this work, which is great. But all the things together, you come to a situation where you start realizing that writing a book about this tempo research, about the consequences, the implication, also realizing, and it's partly my job in this project, realizing that in a way the world is not yet ready for this. Yet I have the sense that we are coming close. This could change rapidly, but still presenting all of that, not only in a video format, but also and certainly in a book format, which is more, you buy a book and that's it. I can delete a video if I want. I cannot delete a book you buy. So that means that we have just one shot. And realizing that there is a system that wants very much to keep things as they are and not question things. And I understand partly. I mean, maybe it sounds weird, but I understand why the system, if I can call it like that, with a capital S, wants to keep things as they are. That's human nature. And once you realize that what we are doing, and also for us, it was a slow realization. Once you realize that what we are doing, there is actually no in between, whether we want it or not. It's either this or that. Reconstruct the idea of the composer, or just, pick something out of the history of performance practice that you like, which is in 95% of the cases has always been different than the composer's wish. I think more and more, by the way. So once you realize that, it's of course of the utmost importance that the way we present this should be it should be like that it opens people's minds instead of closing that. We can be very hard and say you make mistakes and you're all wrong. And I know if I defend my case on YouTube, I can be pretty strong because I need to be there at the front. If that's a game you have to be willing to play in a respectful manner. But with the book, it's a little different. There, you have to guide people who are open-minded or just read, the first paragraph and say, okay, this is interesting. So these first 3 lines are super important. And so that combined with the knowledge that the slightest mistake that we make or the smallest thing that we not question ourselves for and present as a certainty will be taken to take the entire thing down. We shouldn't be naive in this. So it's an exciting game. It's a game, if you see it as a game, that we will win at the end. There is only one way in life, that's the truth. Maybe that I will not witness it anymore. I don't know. I think that I will. And I'm not going to digress into kind of philosophical, exercise. But it's a full-time job, actually, writing that book. And I started realizing only now after Loren's visit. That's the reason why I said, why I thought, update you on the book again is something necessary. Because these updates should give you a kind of information of what I'm doing. Partly, all of you are making it possible what I'm doing, so it's I think important that you know what I'm doing. To be honest, first of all, life goes so quick. I'm in the middle of all these crossroads, so it's sometimes hard for me even to tell what's going on. And the struggle, then I connect to the beginning, the struggle that I have just to, be on top of my game and organizational structure. I'm struggling with that. I'm not good in that. I focus. I write an article on the 1808 concert that I have been reconstructing. The article is not ready. I reconstruct that concert. I do that in 2 days, but 2 days full time. I cannot do something else in between. I focus, and focusing is something that I'm good in. That's the reason why these things happen. There's somebody who comes down the stairs. Let me say good morning to her. Is that zo vroeg? I'm talking to the Patreons. Moet ik ook hallo zeggen? Of ga je gewoon een boterham eten? Dan ga je maar eten. Ik ben hier nog even bezig en dan kom ik.
Wat had je aan het doen?
Een video aan het maken voor de Patreons. Die zien u nu allemaal straks. En nu bij pyjama. So, that's a great thing. One of the great things of doing all of this here at home. Witnessing my children getting up out of bed, sometimes I wish I had an office or something like that. I could do much easier productions for YouTube and just be a little bit more focused. But focusing I'm really good at, and that's the reason why some things happen. But that only works when there is just only so much things to do, and I can focus on one thing going forward, or few things. I have to learn, and that's difficult when you're 48 to change that, but realizing that is one thing. I have to learn to break all these projects down into little chapters, and I hate that. I lock me up and say, Wim, write a book. You have 2 months, and I will do it from the morning to the evening. Once I have to do a little bit different things, so insert that with some practical stuff. I have to write a report for an organ project, for instance. Now I keep delaying that. I will do that, of course. I'm professional on that in that sense, but it doesn't match what I would be doing. And writing the book, like being a monk somewhere in a monastery on a mountain for a year, I would fit in that pattern. But that's not the world where I live in. because all of this here, this webcam and what have you, well, I need to make this not only a project, a movement, something that people can rely to, especially young people, I think, this can be a game changer for them. That's part of the reason, or the main reason actually, that we're doing it also for Alberto. I know this. This can make a difference, what we do, in so many people's lives. But yeah, it needs to become also a little bit more sustainable. Like you are the foundation for that, guys, are here. Also for Patreon, I should see this more even as a project. We have now the Dropbox folders for you, for the different tier levels. I think I would be very happy, I think, when I would have access to that if I weren't me, let's say. But can you imagine that I didn't make a video on YouTube where I just say, hey guys, we have updated our Patreon page, you can do this, blah, 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 and potentially you have 20 people more. So all of that needs to be done, our gold project in its own. So I'm not complaining here, it's just a reality that I face, and also an explanation a little bit for you. Why, if you click on these updates month after month, there is a kind of constant factor, struggle with organization. We'll go into the book and to the Patreon page in a minute, because I don't want to take too much of your time. You could say, and I've tried that, build a team. That's possible today. I can go, I know people from the online business, and I have lessons with them. I'm 5-6 years in, let's say 4 years really. 2017, 3 years. Let's say 2017 that I decided, like, let's try this really hard. So I've had lessons, I have courses, and so I know a lot of people that have really excellent services on. Like, for instance, Chris Ducker, he is from the UK. He is one of the leading persons in hiring virtual assistants, freelancers. So, but I've tried that, not with success until now. I know that's the way to go, but for now, it's also hiring someone as a project on its own. And not digressing in that, but we had some very negative experiences with this. Not bad people, great people, but just managing projects from a distance is really, really, really hard. I think the first person we ever should hire is living here in the neighborhood, that I can talk with, have a coffee with, but that's not for now. That's so all to say that and in Austria they say weiterwurschteln, so we just struggle a little bit and we go forward. That's the great thing of all, guys. At the end of this year we'll have the 32 sonatas on YouTube. It's unbelievable. Also 2 symphonies, maybe 3. That's something a year ago. And of course without Alberto this wouldn't have been possible. We have now a wonderful young man living in Brussels, speaking 25,000 languages or something like that. But no kidding, he is his mother tongue is both English, Dutch, and Polish. He speaks French, he speaks German, so he is translating this book. His mother was professional translator. The guy lives in Brussels, studies music at the Brussels Conservatory, schriftuur, as they say, so writing orchestral scores and understanding that. He is a singer in the Renaissance ensemble. So if we had to make a profile of someone for translating the book, it's him, and he wants to do it because he believes in this. He's also building a business as copy editor and proofreader, as professional degrees in this. So he just rang the bell, say, hey, can I help? We had a meeting here with Lorenz, with him. So he came over here, and it was a complete day with very intense and very structural work. this guy knows what he's talking about, not only from within what we are doing, but also on the element of book publishing and everything that it takes to make it as professional as possible. Not digressing in that. That might be for a future update. More details about this. And so things happen faster than I think, and also that I'm not aware of. Time is going so fast that even to make an inventory of what we have done, it's sometimes not possible, and it should be. So I'm struggling with that, but you be assured I will struggle a little bit further with this, and I will keep struggling. To just before we go to the Patreon page, the other day, a few weeks ago, and also these things happen, like life is full of surprises. Sophie came sit next to me and said, when will you be in a position that you can say, today I'm doing nothing? And it's always a difficult question to answer, because at the end what I'm doing here, I like it so much. I could do this my entire life, from the morning to the evening. But there is also an element of addiction to it. Not only work, but once you realize what we are doing here and how many things you can still find, how many things you can still contribute to the projects, it is, it's an ever ongoing business. And I said, listen, yeah, I'd love to, and actually I spend time with you. That's true, she said. That's true, but she was actually a little bit worried about me. And she's 15. It's unbelievable that suddenly you see your little girl grow up and being concerned about her father. When you're 25 and you hear that say someone, you say, come on, dude. But when you're 48, you discover life by just getting older. It's exciting, actually. Life is unbelievable. And she said it's actually very simple. You have to write down your project, break them down in little chapters, and I will help you planning that, so that in the morning you wake up and you open your agenda and there's 2 hours book, 2 hours this, 2 hours that. At the end, you know that the project will be done, but you have to give me how much time you need for each project. I said, whoa, that's like in 2 seconds everything I need. And so we're actually working on that. And so I'm going to give you a part of that in the book project, because there it is actually surprisingly easy. Not that I know exactly when it will be done, but I know now exactly what needs to be done still. So, sorry for the long intro, guys. Sometimes I just need to talk to you for a while. Here we have Patreon. So you see, we didn't grow. We stayed stable. So I'm happy with that. I will. One of the projects is to promote Patreon a little bit more in the future. Let me see if you see that, because it might be that I'm here still in the way. Yeah, I have to make myself a little smaller. That will be better. No, not like that. This, enough here. There you go. Yeah. So I should promote Patreon a little bit more. We have also access now, by the way, to the YouTube community post. What is that? So you can member. You have seen that probably with some channels that you are following that. Some have member access. So you click on that. It's a kind of competition for Patreon. I see creators going from Patreon to YouTube community or membership. I don't want to do that because I like Patreon a lot. Its interface is stupid, really. It's poorly designed for communication, and I don't understand why they're not upgrading that. Part of the reason is probably that they actually charge very little. So only 2.5%, I think, of what you guys pay goes to Patreon. This is exceptional. Maybe it's now 5, but it's it. And then PayPal, of course, if I would, I have no possibility yet to transfer this money. So last month we made $1,340 to transfer directly to my bank account, which would be of course much better. It goes to PayPal. As long as it stays there, I can buy things from that. So basically here it's now like this. Anja works, that pays the bills here for the house. You don't have much to pay for. The house is not so expensive. And so we're managing with that. We have also some savings, and this actually serves for, paying internet and buying stuff if I need that. And so also there's a little saving account. So the money will but I don't need remains in Patreon. So that's it. Whereas on YouTube, it is more a 70-30 split. Other thing that we have no access to is the merchandising option. So it's really easy. I go to Teespring, which is a website, and there I actually create t-shirts, mugs, what have you, everything. And in 5 minutes it's on the channel. So I'm thinking of using that, but adding a little bit aspect of humor there. Like, we have to bring a little bit of humor and relativity into this project, more perhaps than even we're doing now. And we're doing some of that thanks to Alberto also. Here, pledge growth, you see it's actually always going up, and that's I don't know what these amount pledge at the end of the month, new and increased pledges. And where is the patronage? Let's see what this is. Is how much people pay, refunds, declines, payouts. Actually, I don't come here too often. I should actually. Okay, that's for Patreon. By the way, there is another update on Patreon. Here you have actually an overview. So it's about the same here. It's great. July, August. So Patreon updates really in a way that's maybe is important for you to know. They are going to give the supporters, so the Patreons, the possibility to pledge in their own currency. And I can enable that option right now or wait until October. It's very confusing. I have to read that, and there's also conversion rate that I don't like that I talk about. But in a way, I think it's for all of you. I would be very happy to be able to pledge to a creator. I've done that. And a few times in the past. I would have been very, very happy to do it in my own currency, because then you know exactly what you're going to pay. With conversions, you never know. And I would be happy also. That's the next step they're going to do next year, to be able to, for instance, they have, of course, this time is weird because. In Europe was for it's all American business, YouTube, Google, Facebook, Patreon, everything. Europe has never been a game player there, and it will never be. But for years, European users of YouTube, professional users, but also here for Patreon, were kind of neglected. But now we become like a majority in the game, because in Europe this online business is taking off later than in the US, that's for sure. But it's taking off very, very rapidly. So they have to update also for regulations from the European Union. I don't know. Let's hope it's all for the better. But for me, it would be better, of course, to be paid in euros, because the conversions between dollars and euros are very volatile. So it can be like $1,300 can mean 1,100 euros, it can mean 1,250 euros, it can mean even 1,000 euros. Sometimes it's ridiculous how this changes. So we leave everything in dollars right now, but it's not into our benefit right now. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Anja knows more about this. Okay, this is going to be a long update, I see. But anyways, let's continue to the book. Here you have the new content. So if I make it a little smaller, let me see if you, should not forget to get myself out of the way here. There you go. reduce the size a little bit. Here you see the full screen. Some of you might remember this because I've shared this with you a few months ago, but this is a full new content which I worked on when Lorenz was here. So Lorenz was here from, I don't remember the dates. It's from, he arrived, I think, he left the 31st of, oh yeah, it's not July here. He left the 31st of July and he arrived the 22nd. And Alberto was still here. Alberto left the 25th. Alberto came the 17th, I think, too. So he left the day we had our Patreon hangout. He was traveling. Yeah, he was in the train. If you remember that, or go back to that. Okay. By the way, guys, I see some of you. Oh, it's too much here. Not enough structures. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. So if you go to the posts here, struggle with finding the content. So the Dropbox folders have addresses and they have passwords sometimes. And here they are, links, Dropbox folders. You find everything for $1 tier level, and then you go up to 3 and so on. And then also, if you have questions, I screen capture them. It can be a few weeks before I answer them because I batch record those, try to at least. Project. They are here in your questions tab. So you don't have to scroll down, they are just labeled with a tag. These ugly thumbnails, YouTube auto-generates them. This is okay. It's really terrible. But anyways, about the content here. Then the Patreon Hangout replays are here. Can imagine it's nice for you to listen when you're driving or just sitting on the train. These are really, I enjoy these moments really, really, really a lot. Preview is something that we don't use anymore because it's just a preview for the Monday premiere. You want to be at the Monday premiere, I think. The recordings, high resolution recordings for the $3 tier levels and higher, they're going to be updated. There are 8 or 9 recordings waiting. Julien, it's also a Patreon member. He's taking care of that, but he is working, I think, in a hospital, so he was really busy, as you can imagine. Insider posts are these posts, and there are the practicing sessions. See? All is there. Okay, and now that we went over our benchmark of 20 minutes update, let's go over it as much as we want. Further, because this is important. I'm really happy with how this book content now is looking like because it reflects also the solution. This is something I've been working on, partly together with Lorenz, but Lorenz provided actually the content, the table of content for the chapters that he's writing. And I try to figure out the concept of it. And last stay of Lorenz, I primarily was working on this. Nail the content to the chapters and indicate exactly what needed to be written and what not, what was written. So now you have, in fact, the intros sections and the outro sections. So those are actually 2 sections where I will be talking to you or to the reader. And then you have, I think, 5 sections, which first is no escape, the problems are real. If this would be a doctoral thesis, which very much it could be, it's actually, it's an encyclopedia almost. Then you have to pose a problem. What is the problem? And we have to double down on this because people don't want to see it. So I'll make them see it. This chapter, Speeds Beyond Imagination, to give you an... let's see if I can open it here. I hear it is still. This is 160 pages already. And now it's not finished. There are some 30-40 pages with musical examples right now that needs to be lay out in a little bit more practical way. But this is an extensive chapter that that's my chapter, by the way, where I hope to be able to, drag the attention of people who are on the edge of, not taking it serious, just living in their fantasy world that, it's all possible, and I will force to see them. There is no escape. That's the title of the chapter. There's no escape. At the end, you do whatever you want, but here we make our case. It's our firewall. If you do not accept this solution, then at least present another one, because if you debunk or if you reject the solution we offer, after reading this section, you should be felt responsible for rejecting this solution, because the problems are huge. And I think, guys, if you're watching this, that even if you're a pianist, you will be surprised. You will be really astonished. I know how you say that in English, like saying, really, that. And I will limit even. I cannot give 1,000 metronome numbers here, but the problems are real, and I'm going to double down. At the same time, giving you 100 quotes from the 19th century at least, and I will easily come there. I have now 70 or something, that talk about the metronome in a most relaxed way. It's, the composers mark their pieces with their desired tempo, and so the students or the musicians know now, for in the future, in all countries, what tempo that the composer had in mind. And then you go to the 20th century, and suddenly there are problems. And that also will be extensive chapter or sub-chapter. Anyway, not going to detail here. That's for another update. Second chapter is the only theory you must know. So theory, the presentation. By the way, in the intros you already have here fixing the mistake in 3,000 words, which means this is the research summary, the abstract. The book title now is Fixing the Beethoven Mistake. And the subtitle we are not yet sure. So fixing the Beethoven mistake, not fixing Beethoven's mistake, but the Beethoven mistake as a kind of, symbolic description of the problem. It's not only Beethoven. And therefore this is fixing the mistake in 3,000 words. Also research history, so will be here. Then the theory presentation, that's all Lorenz chapter, that's in midst of being translated right now. 70 pages of text only. It will be a really extensive book. It's a little bit the danger of the project. Section 3 is focus on the sources. So already in section 2 you'll have a lot of sources, of course, but here we are focusing on individual sources. Like 17th, 18th century France. Here Lorenz, that's all Lorenz chapter, he focuses here on the pendulum markings. That's, if you're familiar with tempo research, that's the book of Klaus Mieling that he's actually rewriting here. And also this will end with an Exkursbemerkungen zu Mielings Umgangsweise mit Quellentext. And this is rather extensive, it's 17 pages as well. So text about Klaus Mieling's book, where Lorenz guides the reader through in a way that he starts to understand why his outcome, so Lorenz's outcome, is so much different from Mieling's outcome. It's a masterpiece, this. I mean, this guy is like doing this for decades, so he writes this from memory. It's unbelievable how he, in his head, this is like so clear. And this chapter for me is brilliant because Lorenz takes you from the other side again to his points through Mieling's book. And yeah, it will hurt, I mean, this chapter for Mieling, but I mean, we have a responsibility to be honest in the things we know and we don't know. It's actually unbelievable to see that based upon this book, Mieling got his doctoral title. It wasn't checked. The quotes weren't checked. he was not questioned. He was just, I mean, yeah. Then in the sources here we go then to, there's also German text from Lorenz. We going to discuss it's German here, I'm translating now. From German to English, that's difficult. So the descriptions of full swing, single swing, oscillation, oscillation, all these vibrations, vibration, from what have you. And so that the terminology is in your head before we go to the 19th century. And then there's something that I changed, and actually I think Lorenz was happy with that. First, we're going to talk about tempo measuring methods in the 19th century with adjustable devices, which is a kind of pendulum or pendulum replacement. The metronome was a pendulum replacement. And all those we see are using the whole beat principle. And we're going through some definitions. Also Czerny is there. And then there are all kinds of individual sources. Some are important, some are less important. You'll see here the Melson directions completely rewritten. This is a masterpiece right now. Lorenz worked on that. We still have a little bit of a debate of the last paragraph, how to position that. But other than that, it's all the gaps that were still there in his book, also in my video that I made about it, was still some elements, I say how he explained it. Combining it with other texts makes it, yeah, it's unbelievable. So you see also Louis Danel, for those of you who are a little longer on the channel, excuse me, I will write that video out as important source. So there you have the sources. But then you come to tempo measurements with fixed frequencies, clocks. So whenever you have a clock, I'm not digressing that, but very, very quick, whenever you have a clock as a reference, like for instance, Wiedeburg, Turk, you have also, you have even others that, you know, when you don't have a metronome, or when the metronome was not even there, you can have a clock, and when you have a clock, you have a reference. You cannot adjust that. And when you have a reference, you adhere a note value to that reference. That's all you can do. So you say, for instance, in the case of Wiedeburg, you have a clock that ticks the half seconds. So every tick correlates to an eighth note, which perfectly makes sense in the tempo denario system, quarter note 60, what we would say in single beat today on the metronome. So, but that's a kind of single beat used. You can say, you can see it like that. The metrical, let me make myself maybe a little bit bigger here to show you. So the metrical system, the whole beat system, is you have tick, tack, tick. That's the complete oscillation, which is the definition of the tempo you want. The tempo is defined by a metronome, 2 points. Underneath that, there's a single beat system. The tick, tick, they correlate with a certain note value. If you're going to project that, then you have a single beat system. And that's what happened also in the 19th century. For instance, with Vincent Novello, he started to metronomize a lot of stuff in single beat. We had wonderful conversations with someone, a young German musicologist. I will update everybody on the channels as well. It really was a piece of the puzzle for Lorenz and I. We had a Zoom meeting here with him that like, oh my God, yes, of course. And there you have the Melzel complaint, which for instance Bernard Ruchti takes it completely from the other side, which is like a Melzel complaint that people use this metronome like a cuckoo's clock, like cook, like Enrigal. I mean, what even does that mean? The Melzel complaint for people like Vincent Novello, who was extremely influential, that they used his device as a clock. Tick, tick, every tick correlates to a note value and not like a metronome builder. It makes so much sense. So now you have here not only the tempo measurements with the professional system, so to say. It's not like that, but you can see the metronome builder, like 1 and 2, 1 and 2. We built the metronome, we've defined the tempo like Mersenne in that tradition, and you have a kind of clock system there. Okay, we have the ticks and we refer a note value. That's the whole beat versus single beat. And if you understand that, there's a wonderful clarity in your mind. I hope also with you or with the reader in the future that they say, oh yeah, now I see that, it makes sense, there it comes from. And of course, when people say when they did the change, it never changed, it was there. How did people know? Yeah, it's pretty easy to know. When it's too fast, you take 2 ticks for once. When you progress in the 19th century, there might have been a confusion because people went to play so fast that they reached almost a single beat reading. So maybe that's the reason why Liszt and Brahms and others left metronome numbers behind. That's something for the future. We cannot solve everything here. That's just an idea. And then you have tempo measurements with the pulse, so the heartbeat or minute. And the 2 major sources there are Quantz and Young, both only understandable from the whole beat perspective. And Young uses the minute as Mersenne describes that. And I will demonstrate that also in the videos, talking a little bit about durations as well. So actually a lot, but that's for later. So, and then we compare in Quantz, Young, Melzel, and then you see there is one line of tradition. It's unbelievable when you see that. So this is something new, and I'm super excited for this. Then comes the Aldous recording with Lucy. I'm going to make that video that will blow you from your chair. This is a story there. I have to tell once as a story. Historical durations of concerts, of course. That's, well, come back on that. That's pretty much been solved. The chapters need to be written. That's new. And then historical durations in 3 times or score. So when composers write durations there, what can we learn from that? Not going to digress in that. Also there we have the solution, so to say. It all makes sense now. A lot has happened last 6 months, really. A lot has happened. So whole beat metronome practice in the 20th century. That's opening there for a chapter for there's my mother coming in. So that's a chapter opening for future research where I will give us a few case studies, so to say, that, well, we have not everything there. That's a mystery landscape for us, but we see some signs that are so similar to the 19th century. So we carefully go there with some open questions. And then a practical touch where that's also new, where actually I will update you or the reader in what actually is the implication of whole beat, what makes it possible for you. Very short, because this will be the upstep for future books and projects. Selection of data. Of course, the website will serve for a constant update there, but the book should have some important metronome numbers of Mozart, Czerny, things like that you don't find on the internet and you want to have at hand. And also some outros. And the book will come, yeah, this is important, with a 30-day challenge list. So there will be a video course that you get together with the book. And in 30 days, every day, the reader will, or the follower of the course will get a challenge to really drag your mind into this problem. Make it see from a practical perspective. So, you see, that's it. That's a huge project, but I'm super excited for this. And so, I wanted to show that as final point. So, thanks to Sophie, I now have this overview. These are the chapters that I still need to write or work on. So see, still to write, there's something, there's a lot. And there is still to finish. Green is done. I have here projection of estimation of time, how much time I spent there. But for instance, here the reconstruction of the 1808 concert went way beyond that. It's actually here, it should say 18 right now. It has not been written yet, but it has been solved. Not that I care, because these durations do not say anything. Yeah. Okay. 45 minutes, I think. That will be enough as an update, right? Guys, if you have questions, just send them to me. If I do not reply, send them again. I might miss sometimes some emails. So don't hesitate to, unless my mother here cleaning the dishwasher. So don't hesitate to just knock on the door again, because sometimes I miss Patreon messages are my first messages I check, but if I do not reply them immediately, sometimes they get lost, and I make screen captures of those, but I might miss some. So don't hesitate to just knock on my door and say, hey Wim, I asked you a few weeks ago this, maybe you missed that, here's it again. I don't mind for you being knocking on my door again. Okay guys, thank you for your support as always. I will be recording a practicing session soon with Motionless Opus 70. If you haven't seen that score, go on IMSLP. That's a game changer. It's unbelievable, that preface. And for now, thank you for your support and see you soon again. Bye.